Hello and a very warm welcome to Weekly Current Affairs. Today is Saturday, 19th of November, and we will be taking up the miscellaneous components of this week. As you all know, this is one such series. We will be taking up current affairs from Monday starting and ending with Saturday, and we'll be covering up those articles which have been figured out in the various newspapers in the past 1 week. So this week, as the miscellaneous components, it is an integrated approach where we take up the article and also understand it in a holistic way, in a integrated manner. So let's start with today's session. Today we are going to take up 3 different articles which have been figured out in various newspapers. Now the first article which we are going to take up is the rock art symbols. एक ऐसी symbols Nilgiri hills में one of a scientist has studied, and then there come up a research says that the earliest human beings who have come to live in India in the Nilgiris, maybe they are related somewhere with the Ice Age time period. So now in this context we need to know about the Ice Age, Nilgiris, as well as the content which has been given in this article in holistic manner. The second article that we will be taking up is the Forest Department has introduced Elephant Death Audit Framework. So Tamil Nadu state government has introduced this audit framework. Now what is this audit framework? We need to know about that as well. Third article we'll be taking up is in the Andaman Nicobars. इस अंडमान निकोबार्स में एक ऐसी 130 square kilometer forest land is now being diverted for a Great Nicobar Island mega project. इस island mega project में there are 630 species of flora and fauna which are going to get impacted. Now for the examination point of view, we'll be taking up important species that are being discussed in that project by the government itself. So let's begin with the first article. Our first article says that rock art symbols could point to the arrival of humans at the end of the last ice age in the Nilgiris, says researchers. See, in this article we need to know about firstly rock art. This is from historical point of view, and arrival of the humans at the end of the last ice age. This is geography, as well as Nilgiris mapping point of view. This is also geography. So it is, once it is rightly said that what that is history has to be learned geographically, and what that is geography has to be learned historically, so that you get a holistic understanding. So in the same context, let us try to deal with this article in a similar way. Firstly, let me tell you what exactly is this article about. A scientist who is studying about the rock arts in that area has identified that there are certain symbols that which are present on the Nilgiris are also resembling the same symbols in the Europe, and they too also date back to similar time period, though the dating is not yet concrete, but it is clearly pointing out that the rock arts here and the Europe, they are of similar time period, and rock arts of the Europe are already dated. It is an indication that they are way ahead, or the Homo sapien evolutions ki time period pe these rock arts have been drawn by those Homo sapiens. Now in this process they have used the orchard cherry. Orchard cherry is nothing but the red color component which you see it on the screen. See, they have used the orchard cherry. Firstly, the red color components which you are seeing it on the screen is the orchard. So you need to know about this component also. UPSC prelims mein there is high chance that the questions can be asked here. So first, exactly what exactly is an orchard? Orchard is nothing but एक iron oxide होता है. Iron oxide, in that iron oxide when you add water molecules, basing on this content of the water molecules, it will range from the colors from black से लेकर yellow तक. ठीक है, yellow color से लेकर black color तक. So now this component which cannot be decayed, and it will be intact for thousands and lakhs of years as well. So this component is used in drawing those paintings. Now those paintings, if we can date back to which time period are they, we will be able to understand that people in that local area were living from that time period. Now for this, the evidences can be of various ways. One, carbon dating is a mechanism. The other one is the ice age. You know that ice age was there since the many beginning of the times. Ice age एक particular time period ये होता है जहाँ पर 1/3 से लेकर 2/3 of the earth is completely covered by the ice. It is not that every inch and bit of an ice, every inch and bit of the earth is covered by ice. It's not like that. Our ice age is an indication that most of the part of the earth is under ice age. So that ice will also leave some evidences. When we study the evidences of the ice age as well as the evidences of this rock art, if they match with the time period, we will get to know that when are the humans settled in that Nilgiri areas. So for the examination point of view, I'll be telling you a small story how the evolution of human beings happened. So In the geography, it is generally learned that the evolution of the species took place somewhere in the Africa. Now, where exactly in is Africa? It is generally understood that the evolution of the species took place in the Ethiopia or somewhere in the highlands of the Africa. From there, slowly the humans started to go around finding out the coastal areas and the river valleys which they have the potential to provide possible life there. So slowly they came to India as well, and then they identified areas of the coastal areas, they moved in various ways. So they understood that at what time period they have reached this Nilgiris, that is what the article talking about. For this, we need to understand the evidences of the ice as well. And before this, let me tell you another small story and let's try to link up the content there as well. Firstly, it is generally understood that most of the human beings who are located or originated in Africa, they were confined to Africa itself. The movement of the species did not take for long time period. You know why? It is because Africa is called as a dark continent. Now, why is Africa called as dark continent? It is because if you see, for most of the time period, there is not much of information about Africa. Only in the 16th or 17th centuries, the African exploration started. And if you look into the topography here, the southern part of Africa is a desert, the central part of Africa is a thick forest, and the northern part of Africa is a desert again. The only survivable places are your Ethiopian highlands and the central areas jahan pe possible life can be very much evident. So these species or the Homo sapiens, they started to find out the best possible walkable areas and then they started to move out. So that's why Africa is also called as a dark continent, because one, outside people did not explore Africa, and the people living in Africa, they do not have exposure outside. So African continent was least explored. That's one point. We'll come back to this content and we'll try to interlink. So firstly, let us try to understand the types of evidences that the Ice Age gives. Here you should have the clarity that we are discussing Ice Age, and we'll also discuss the evidences that are given by the historians. Now these are the evidences of geography, such as glacier evidences. A glacier, when it is formed, during its movement, it will leave out some evidences. Now what are these evidences? That evidences are nothing but can be categorized into geological evidences, chemical evidences, and paleontological evidences. Geological evidences means, one, due to some extreme activities, maybe one rock can scrap with another rock and leave some scars, or a rock when it is carved or ice when it is moved, it will make some big valleys like this. This piece of ice, while it is moving, it might create or take away the components of the rocks which are present here and leaves a scars behind, and a valley might be created. Now in this valley there can be chemicals present, there can be air within this ice can be trapped, as well as there can be some fossil fuels that can be trapped here. So the evidences of a glacier can be categorized into geological, chemical, and paleontological. Paleontological is nothing but fossil recorded. For firstly, let us see what are the geological evidences that you will get to see when an ice moves, or the Ice Age formation time period pe. So today we will get to see most of the rocks that are being scraped or carved valleys bhi ho sakta hai, and formation of a peculiar type of ridges bhi ban sakta hai, as well as deposition of unconsolidated material, which you will not see those kind of materials in India, but it have its origin somewhere else. Maybe the origins of the material which is found in India has its origin in the Africa, or else it might have its parent component in Antarctica. So those are some evidences which we can take forward and identify the age of that particular time. Similarly, large rocks and erratic formations can be seen, so which do not explain the natural theories of geography. In this, the evidences can be, the second one can be your chemical. See, chemical evidences may mostly ice cores jo hota hai na, the core of an ice, it contracts and a global temperature pattern can be identified within from that core, and they often contain bubbles. Some bubbles will also be there within this ice, and when this ice melts out, the gas will come out. So if a scientist who can dig that glacier and understand the air composition, that air is being trapped lakhs and thousands of years before, so that we can date that ice, ye kab movement hua tha, right? The other one is lastly paleontological evidences. See, paleontological evidences are nothing but fossil fuels. Is fossil fuel evidences में you will see that many species which are left over or mass extinction की time period पे carbon dating mechanism से we will can identify that these species might have been present in this era or in this time period. So a popular theory which is called as the Wegener's theory, continental drift theory, I hope everyone is aware about that. In that, the method of telling that the Cynoganthus or the Mesosaurus or the Lystrosaurus, all these animals are the evidences of your fossil fuels, which actually comes onto your paleontological evidences. So the Wegener has also used similar kind of evidences. Now the agenda here is to understand, with using these evidences, the scientists have come up to say that the Nilgiri mein, the humans who have been living there, they have been there since the later periods of the Ice Age. Now in this later time periods of the Ice Age, evidences we have talked about. Along with that, you also need to know the scraping mechanism or the formations of landforms within the movement of a glacier. I told you, when a glacier moves, it also moves the rocks within that. It creates an abrasion process and some scars are left over like this. So by using these scars, scientists will now try to understand maybe some animals that are present within this ice, they will now get exposure, or maybe a air bubble which is present within this ice, or an air bubble when it is exposed by making these glacier valleys, if you dig, some gas will be coming out. So these are the evidences that have been used. Already these evidences are studied in Europe, and it is identified that the glacial time period can date back to later times of the Pleistocene time period, or the Holocene time period is the one 10,000 years before से पहले तब Ice Age हुआ था. Right. Now come back and let's try to see what exactly is this article talking about. See, this article talks about the presence of few symbols. Now what are these symbols? The symbols that are found in the Nilgiri Hills, that is Iduthathi area, it is identified that the symbols are used are one, it is circle, it is cordiform, dot, finger fluting and quadrangle. Now these are the same symbols which have also been used in India and they have also used in Europe. So it is an indication that the movement of the species or the people might have been in the same time period. This is what is the general understanding, because these symbols, if they are also used in India and also used in Europe, it is an indicative identity that maybe the species which are living in the Nilgiris have also its contact with the species of the Europe, or maybe of the same time period. ये भी हो सकता है. So only time can tell when the carbon dating is done. The carbon dating is not yet done, but it is estimated that the carbon dating will be done in the near future, and it says that once the carbon dating is done, most likely they are expecting the results of the same time period. If that is true, it is an indication that the human beings might have settled in the Nilgiris around 10,000 years before. So our Indus Valley civilization is dating back to only 4 to 5,000 years from now. But Nilgiri, if that is true, the human beings might have been living in this area since last 10,000 odd years. Maybe what kind of species are they, and all of this are an anthropological understanding. But for now, all we need to know is what is orchard cherry, Nilgiri Hills, and as well as the Ice Age and the evidences. I think this is what is the way we have to approach an individual article, and if you do have any doubts regarding this, you can post the comments in the comment section, right? And any further update on this article will be covering up in more detail, right? And come back, see, there is also a small understanding that generally a pot, this pot is having some drawings on it, this pot is having more or less plain. So if I ask you which pot, a person who made this pot and a person who made this pot, who do you think is more civilized, or who do you think is more advanced? In historical saying or historical understanding is that a person who uses a better advanced technology in making those pots is the one more developed. So orchard cherry is nothing but a material. That material is orchard cherry. Here the iron oxide, when you mix with water, it ranges from black color se lekar yellow, red, multiple colors you will get. Now if someone is using this orchard, it is an indication that they are aware of this chemical reaction, so that's why they are able to make that pots. So a plain pot and an orchard pot, it is indicated that orchard cherry, whoever is making, they are little more advanced, right? So in the similar way, you also get to see the orchard which is used. It is indication that the human beings who are living in these areas are little advanced as compared to the other areas, right? I think that's it with this article. We'll be taking up our next article. Our next article talks about the elephants. See, in the elephants, it is Tamil Nadu state government has come up with one of the innovative idea. They wanted to understand how the elephants are dying, and they wanted to make a streamlining process, एक standard protocol रखने के लिए. So this article says, let's read the headlines first. Forest Department introduce elephant death audit framework. Elephant death audit framework. See, elephant death is nothing new. The poaching of the elephants in the last few decades have come down as compared to the earlier time period, but still the deaths of elephants are again high, especially in the Nilgiri areas in the southern districts. So because of that, what they have tried is, now we have to understand the cause of the deaths of the elephant. So Tamil Nadu government has now given a notification that they wanted to go for a transparent and more improvised, standardized as well as credible monetary assessment program how the elephants are dying. So poaching, if poaching is not a reason, then what is the reason for its death? Now they wanted to go and understand which age groups the elephant are dying, and they wanted to make a protocol. For that they are using some technologies. Now what are these technologies? DNA mapping technology they wanted to utilize, and according to the framework, identifying the cause of mortality remains a critical foundation for many questions related to population and conservation ecology. Yes, that is true. Now it says that the framework will include a transparent process. Stakeholders, हर stakeholder को they are going to facilitate a standardization procedure and more credible comparisons with other states. And it is also saying that they wanted to collect high quality and credible mortality assessment data through transparent process. Now what is this high quality and credible mortality assessment data? See, this is nothing but in order to have these kind of data, you need to have a data called baseline data. Now what is this baseline data? Before you start any research, you need to have a base. How do you have to proceed that research? That is called in simple terms as the baseline data. Now this baseline data for elephants is, they wanted to utilize the data of the previous past around 40-50 years ka data, how the animals of elephants have been died. It is generally understood that the man animal conflict में humans का जो deaths है वो कम है. पोचिंग के कारण सबसे ज़्यादा होता था 50s to 60s में, 70s के बाद जब वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट आया था. From then elephant death has been reduced because of poaching, but still poaching is also one of the reason. Now the second one, unnatural deaths and natural deaths को vary करे. For that, natural deaths are the ones they age out and they die out because of some diseases, or the young elephants they fight among themselves and they die out. This is some of the natural deaths. Unnatural deaths are something, an elephant track, railway track, when it hits with the elephant or the rails, as well as buses, roadways, accidents, these will lead to the deaths also. These are called as unnatural deaths. Now they wanted to reduce these unnatural deaths. So all this falls into a protocol or the content which we have taken up as a project as Project Elephant. So Project Elephant में सबसे advanced state जो है तमिल नाडु है, because the most of the population of elephants you will see in the southern states as well as in the northeastern area. So because of that, now they are going for enhancement of the Project Elephant. So first let us see what is this Project Elephant. इसमें Project Elephant, it started in 1991 and 92. In this they said that they wanted to protect the elephants. While protecting the elephants, they want to go for some technological adaptations. That technological adaptations came from the mic. What is this? Monitoring of illegal killing of elephants. ये एक technological evolution है, and CITES, which is called as Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species. This CITES is also taken and very strictly implemented. Any trade in the product of an elephant is illegal, it's a crime, and there is also a signatory which is called as South Asian Wildlife Enforcement Network, that is SAVEND. So many standardized procedures have been put forward for the elephant, and of course elephant is one of the famous species of UPSC. हर 2 साल में कहीं ना कहीं questions it will be asked. So let us quickly see some basic facts about elephant here. This is purely from the preliminary aspects. Firstly, let's see the habitat of an elephant. Elephant mostly lives in grasslands, floodplains, evergreen rainforests, deciduous forests and shrublands as well. And elephant is a migratory species. Once it starts to migrate, it keeps on moving from one place to another place. Maybe it will stay in that area for 5 to 10 days, but its agenda is to move. And it is the pathway creator for the forest. And its favorite food, if you know, it is mostly the grasslands. Like bamboo bhi ek favorite food hai. It also eats your sugarcane. So mostly it moves into those areas. Next, some important other facts such as gestation period of an elephant. Usually 21 months is the gestation period of an elephant. It means 21 months tak it will have its baby in the stomach, and after 21 months the baby will be delivered. And usually one calf is born, it's not multiple calves. And 4 to 5 years is the breeding interval. And then 36 to 48 months is the maternal care of the offspring which is needed. That means near about 4 years of maternal care of the offspring is required. A baby, when it is born, it will be there with the mother at least till 4 to 5 years, and it is required, the care is required. So it is just as your humans, and it is one of the most intelligent species of all the species. Now geographical range, if you see, it is also called as the eastern species. Elephant is called as eastern species. Why is it called as eastern species? Especially in Asia, you will only see them on the eastern side. On the western side, it is completely absent. You can see the map here. Mostly east of India, this is found. West of India, it is absent. Now why? Please comment in the comment section if someone knows. Now, did you know elephants are good swimmers using their trunk as a snorkel? Ek important tidbit fact hai, though it is not much important in the terms of examination ke liye, but somewhere elimination mein you can use it. And the next one, elephant has a great memory. Someone says that elephant memory. See, once it remembers something, it keeps on its memory until it's die, right? Elephants are intelligent species. They can negotiate, they can communicate, they can also make proper projected plans. Now these are some of the important aspects. There are 2 different types of elephants. One is African, one is Indian. So that's it here for us. The important aspects here is you can use this content for your mains as well as for the preliminary point of view, some important tidbit facts, right? So always remember, Tamil Nadu as a forest department, it is one step ahead as compared to other states. So any learning from the peer groups, Tamil Nadu forest department's activities need to be monitored. You can write in your examination and take that as a conclusion or a way forwards. And lastly, our last article talks about the clearing of the forest lands. Around 8 lakh trees have to be cut off to deliver this project. Now what is this project? It's a project which is Great Nicobar Island mega project, in that they wanted to construct various tourism industries as well as they wanted to go for enhancement of the Nicobar. In this due process, if they are cutting out this 8 lakh trees, around 8.5 lakh trees as reported by the Hindu newspaper, as well as it also says that around 10 hectares of coral cover will have to be translocated. Again, it's a difficult task. Indigenous Shompen and Nicobarese tribe will be affected, as well as the leatherback sea turtles, Nicobar megapods, Nicobar macaque, saltwater crocodiles, and the rare fauna which are found in those areas are always a threat. So ये जो project है पिछले हफ्ता, in principle approval it has already been given. Now they are going to take a survey, and within a month or so there will be project started. So when this project starts, the biggest threat is for few species which are endangered and vulnerable, and some 1 or 2 species who also have a range in their critically endangered range. So a critically endangered species, it has its range, means it moves into these areas as well. So let's see what are these species and how important are they. Now the first species which will be impacted is Nicobar shrew. Second one, Nicobar lion-tailed macaque. This itself is lion-tailed macaque. It has a long-tailed and it is located in Andaman Nicobar. Third one is Great Nicobar crested sprint eagle, Nicobar paradise flycatcher and Nicobar megapod. ये काफ़ी important species है. Let's see some important species and their ecological habits and their interactions with the environment. So let's quickly see this first one. Geographical range of the Nicobar tree shrew is, it lives on the tree and it's a shrew. So this tree shrew, when the trees are cut down near about 8 lakhs, the dislocation of this species is definitely going to happen. So the chances of these kind of components will be asked in the examination is high. So here we need to know about not just about the species status and some characteristics of this species also. That unique characters can be asked in one liner and they'll trap you there. So firstly, geographical range अगर देखा गया, Great Nicobar areas it will be found, and secondly, tropical evergreen forest only it is found, and one of the tropical evergreen forest में around 10% of the area of this project is falling into the tropical evergreen forest. And when you look into the foraging, Nicobar true shrews जो है, what do they do is they are associated with racket-tailed trong or sparrowhead. So this true and the species which are present, they are associated, they live in the bonhomie. They may help them avoid predators. See, usually when the species is yet to be eaten by another animal, these species will indicate that you are under threat. So looking at that, now the tree shrew will also move away from that area. Next is, tree shrews have high brain to body mass ratio. So this is one such species. इनका size तो छोटा ही है, but the size of the brain is little larger as compared to any other species. And this is something very important. Conservation status अगर देखा गया, it is endangered. It falls into the endangered category. That's it regarding this species. The next species which is in news is Nicobar long-tailed macaque. See, this Nicobar long-tailed macaque is one of the grassland species, and it also lives in the large trees जहाँ पे it crab eating animal भी कहा जाता है. It lives on the trees. After that, it needs some peculiar food. It eats fruits, and to digest those fruits, what does it has to eat? It has to eat that crab. So this is something very, very unique to this species, right? And when you look into the status, its status is vulnerable as of now. Now the last species which is important is the megapod. This is a megapod. This megapod has uniqueness. One, it lives in the forest, and what does it do? When it is going into the forest, when it lays its egg, it usually lays its egg and then covers it up with the vegetation. Suppose it has laid its egg and then it covers with the vegetation, and during that vegetation it gets that heat, and after that new hatchlings come out. So today the species which it is living around 8 lakh trees, most of the population is found is regarding this species, and the vegetation will be gone. It is generally understood that this vulnerable species will now fall into endangered in the next 2 to 3 years. So these are some of the important concepts which we have been figured out in the various newspaper. Though the article is on the surface, but we have to go into little more depth. If you do have any doubts regarding this topic, you can message me here. And my name is Madhusudan Reddy. See, reading alone is not sufficient. It is also very important for you to write what you know. So for that, the Seize the Mains question will be based on these topics. What you can do is, you can go to the link in the description and write the answer to the topics which we have been discussing here. Thank you and take care. For more related articles, we'll see you in the next week.